Here comes the peanut gallery. This is a Sears Kenmore, vintage Sears Kenmore box fan. I think it's supposed to be 14 inches. This is the 2-speed. I think it's 14 inches. There's a 3-speed one too, and I think that's 16 inches. I don't know. It looks like 14. And it doesn't say on the fan anywhere, but it's 2 speeds and you can go either way with it. And I've already done a video on this one, but I just got it out, cleaned it up, oiled it, figured I'd do another one. It's a pretty cool fan. Haven't used it in several months, so here it is. This was Facebook Marketplace find. It's one of those rare deals. I think I paid $5 or $10 for it. One of those things where when it pops up, you don't really spend too much time thinking about it. So I saw it, jumped on it, got it. Here it is. I think it's got a lot of hours on it though. But it's, I mean, all things considered, it's in pretty good condition, but you could see where, like, the blade definitely had a scuffle with some object at one time or another. And then the stand, if you look at the bar here, you can see that it's straight. Look at the other one, you can see where it's kind of bowed out. So I think the fan got properly smashed into something at one time. I'm not sure how old it is. There's no date information on it, but I would say 60s, maybe early 70s at the latest. It has a General Electric motor. And of course it's not going to focus. There it is. So it's General Electric. Yeah, I just can't really get in there too much to show you the stamp on the motor, but it's 1,550 RPM, somewhere around there. It has the amperage rating. It's 1.4 and says made in USA. And there's this is the only sticker on it. Model number 758-80840. Order replacement parts by mail through any of our retail stores. Well, I'll have to try that. 1.2 amps, it says on the sticker. It's kind of a small PSC motor. Pretty powerful though. Has really cool startup sounds. The only thing, I haven't taken it apart. I mean, I've taken the blade off and I've unmounted the motor, but it's, I don't know if you can see the glue, it's sealed. They sealed the motor housing to the stator, and I'm not really sure how to go about taking it apart. I don't really have experience with that, so I'm not really confident that I'm going to be able to get that apart without hurting it somehow, and I just don't want to take any risks with it. I mean, sometimes I don't have any problem experimenting with stuff like that if I'm reasonably sure that it's gonna work, but I don't really want to experiment like that with this fan. I don't want to ruin it. It's a cool old fan. I don't really have any cool fans that are as old as this one, so I don't want to ruin it. But it does need to be taken apart and properly cleaned, because I mean, I did what I could with the compressed air. I mean, I rammed the air hose, the air nozzle in there and blew all the dust out of it that I could with like the really high pressure one at work. But it needs to be properly cleaned. It needs to be brushed with a solvent of some kind. I don't know if that's just dust. Well, it's got to be just a combination of dust and probably various kinds of residue, oil residue probably. So yeah, I'm not really sure how to get that apart. So for now, it's just gonna have to go without that, and it's oiled plenty, and it doesn't really get hot when you run it. So I mean, I don't think it's gonna hurt anything to run it sparingly, and I have to run it sparingly because there's another issue that's probably more immediately serious, and that's the plug. So you can see the plug is damaged. It arced on something at some point, and I've brushed it. I wire brushed it and cleaned it, and it still has that discoloration, and it obviously it's some, you know, has a couple of bites taken out of it there, so it needs to be replaced. It works good. I mean, it doesn't spark or anything when you plug it in or unplug it, and I haven't had any issues with it, but still, you can't run it like that. So when I do run it, it's sparingly and supervised. So another reason why I bought this fan is because I recognized the color scheme on this as being similar to some of the stuff that we have in this house. So this house was remodeled, I want to guess, in like the 70s or 80s. Probably the 70s. But they use almost exclusively Sears stuff, and a lot of it is in this like bronze kind of color scheme. Like, for instance, this thermostat. This thermostat is no longer wired into the furnace. When they put in the new boiler system, they cut this one out, but there's another one of these just like this one. This one's busted up though, this one's broken, but there's a complete one in the living room, and that actually does control the furnace still. And then there's garage door openers that aren't hooked up. We're renting the place, so I'm not really too worried about it, and don't really have too much of a say in what happens with the stuff. But yeah, there's garage door openers, and then there's actually new garage doors and garage door openers out there waiting to be installed. But for right now, it's still the old garage doors with the Sears openers. And I'm drawing blanks here. There's a whole house fan with a similar color scheme to this one. It's in the ceiling. It's like a shutter fan that vents into the attic. It's a 20-inch fan that vents into the attic, and it's a shutter system, so when you turn it on, the shutter opens, the fan turns on, and man, that thing is just wicked. I mean, you can see like the dust lift and get pulled into there. It's pretty crazy. I think we're going to be living here probably until at least through the summer. So at some point, I'll have to get up there and do a video demonstration of that shutter fan, because it's pretty awesome. But yeah, there's the thermostats, the garage doors, the fan up there. There's probably other stuff, but anyway, I thought that this kind of fit right in there with all the other Sears appliances that we got here. This house is old and pretty outdated. Come on. Okay. So I guess we'll run it on the low. Switch all the way to the right. So switch it to low. Fan has startup sounds too. On the opposite side from where we started. I just oiled it, so it has a pretty good spin down. And although the motor is pretty dirty, I figure as long as I keep the dust out of it, keep the stuff from obstructing the airflow over it, if I can keep it from getting hot, I think it'll be okay. But that plug needs to be replaced. I would like to be able to clean the motor. The blade is slightly out of balance. I think I could probably manage to fix that. So all the stuff that's wrong with this fan is fixable. It's doable. And yeah, it's a pretty nice piece for, you know, $5 or $10, whatever I paid for it. It's well worth it. Pretty nice piece of history. So working left to right now, here's the high startup. Too much of a difference with the air velocity or volume between the two speeds, to be honest. It's not too noticeable. Fridge just kicked off. Perfect time to do some startup sounds. We'll just do these quickly. What side am I on now? Okay, so this is going to be the low first. At least you can oil the fan, you know. It has oil ports, and apparently they work. I did squirt some oil into the shaft there and through the front also. So here's the high-speed startup. Pretty cool fan. Handy dandy stand. It's pretty heavy. Pretty hefty, but man, these things were built to last, I tell you what. There's no way a modern box fan would have lasted through what I'm guessing this one has been through. And I don't think that this fan was necessarily abused or anything. I think it was actually probably maintained pretty well and sheltered and cared for somewhat. But it was used. I could tell it was definitely utilized over all those decades. And I think it was actually the lady that I bought it from. It was her mother's fan, and she was moving her mom into a nursing home, unfortunately. So they were selling off a bunch of her stuff that she had around the house, and it's a sad deal, but you know, stuff like this, it's always good when stuff like that is going to go to somebody who's actually going to take care of it. And you know, I'm not going to resell it. I'm not going to try to make money off of it or anything like that. I think it's awesome. I think it's a really cool fan. And like I said, just a really nice piece of history to have. I definitely appreciate stuff like this. So I was happy to buy it from her. I think I gave her more than she wanted for it too. I think I just handed her like the next size bill and told her to keep the change. If I remember right, whatever it was. But yeah, good find. Really happy to have this one. I just got to replace that plug. And I was looking at this earlier, and it seems like it's kind of a best case scenario for how this is wired. It looks like it's not going to be. So here's a cord coming in, and you can see where it just goes into the switch, and then it's just a wire nut there. Really simple stuff. I think I can manage that. So won't have any problems there. I just got to talk to some people, talk to the right people, and figure out if there's a way to get that motor apart without ruining it. And then I'll be on my way. Thought about maybe trying to repaint this because of those scratches, but I'm never gonna get it to look quite like that. So I might just leave it like that with the scratches, or maybe try to touch them up a little bit. Just touch them up so it's not so obvious. It's got the Venturi thing too, which is cool. And I guess When you consider the airflow on this, I'm just going to turn it on real quick. So the air movement reminds me more of a table fan than it does a box fan. Not really like a high velocity fan either, just kind of like a table fan, and it feels like what you would imagine a 14-inch table fan would feel like it's stronger than a 12-inch fan, but doesn't feel quite as strong as like a really good 16-inch fan, like that vintage Sanyo 16-inch, or that even the 16-inch Galaxy. I don't think that this moves quite as much air as those 16-inch fans do, but this definitely moves more than any 12-inch fan. So I think it feels consistent with what you would think a 14-inch blade would feel like. It moves a lot of air, but it's not I mean, it is a metal blade and it does have the Venturi guard system, but yeah, it moves about what you would expect for a 14-inch blade. And it runs good, it looks cool, sounds cool. That's the vintage 1960s Sears Kenmore 14-inch box fan. Thanks for watching.